Hello everyone. Before we start, I feel it is best to have an understanding of where the peak stands in the reality we find ourselves in, and try to convey to you that everything you see and believe to be real, good or bad could be being misunderstood by you, or me, as everything we know, or should I say believe, is as a result of being handed to us via propagandists of one form or another. So I would like you to entertain the thought, the world we live in is a construct manufactured by people being bribed by the NWO to present that reality as the truth. And if you can see the world as an evil place where your evil actions are needed to survive as a result of bribes from the NWO, and that this reality, or rather the NWO reality, is evil and needs to be destroyed. What I am trying to say is the only thing stopping you from doing the right thing are incorrect beliefs you and your ancestors have had input into your minds over the centuries by the NWO, convincing you that doing the right thing will end in disaster for you, e.g., it's God's will. So with that being said, let's look at peak reality. The NWO is not just a reshuffle of world leaders. The NWO is the system used to control a gangster and slave society first constructed when farming on an industrial scale began, and profit could be made from the produce of slaves and slave gang leaders, i.e., the people who first won the fight, or more accurately, the ones who first won the fight for that profit, and more importantly laid down their law and social norms on the slaves. Then using religion, force and mind control to control, exploit and oppress the slaves, until the slaves became self-governing in their belief their servitude and bondage was the New World Order, and God's will. After a while force was rarely needed to instill the New World Order, which is how humanity's slave society has been run, to this very day. However, people were allowed to fight for control of slaves as long as their fealty remained with the NWO, and as such, wars for control of slaves has always been allowed, as there is greater immediate profit and control of slaves to be re-established if necessary in wars between slaves. How else can you explain such ridiculous concepts as rules of war and war crimes, and unexplainable happenings such as Pope Leo I having a quiet word with Attila the Hun, convincing him not to invade Italy, or Hitler not invading Switzerland, and many more unexplainable actions and strange friendships between sworn enemies taken by despots over the years? Explaining humanity's domestication and slave existence to humans is like trying to turn a sheepdog back into a wolf. So to understand the esoteric workings of the NWO system, you have to be on the inside of one of the secret societies inside one of the many secret societies the NWO has placed in every corner of the world. We are led to believe, and we are led to believe. Joking aside, it is also a state of mind and beliefs, input into human beings since the NWO was created 3,000 years ago. It is the program input into slaves by the NWO that allows the NWO to always be the regime ruling the slaves who always follow the NWO hierarchy, right down to the lowest level slave, e.g. a CEO of a major corporation to a child cobalt miner. This is why, if questioned, even anti-NWO slaves will end up defending the NWO. So, I will tell you the secret of secrets kept in the inner sanctum of the Temple of Baal. It is this. There is always someone bigger than you, so do not get involved with fights between people who do not believe there is someone bigger than them. Just facilitate that continuous belief and fight between the illiterate, as the NWO call us. E.g. Russell Brand, Joe Rogan, all the politicians on the left, and everyone claiming they want justice for everyone who does not state openly they want to destroy the NWO system and hierarchy that is maintained through bribery and force, using the New World Order gangster money printing debt slave system used at present. If you can see the truth of this explanation of our reality, you will want to join the peak. Why would anyone who wants justice for all not state in an open and unambiguous way they want justice for all, and an end to the system ensuring there is no justice for all? Be as clever as the NWO leaders and stop fighting, as you can never win. We have two choices: we can continue being slaves fighting each other for the benefit of the NWO, or we can stop fighting each other and stop giving the profit of our slavery to the NWO and share it amongst ourselves, as there is more than enough for everyone. Do the maths.
The richest 1% own almost half of the world's wealth, while the poorest half of the world own just 0.75%. In fact, they have acquired nearly twice as much wealth in new money as the bottom 99% of the world's population. As of the 19th of January, 2023.
I would just like to add, the PAEACP is not an organization that can be recognized or understood in the NWO system. It is fundamentally a statement that you will treat everyone as if they are yourself and that you are free, and as such, so is everyone else. The PAEACP advocates everyone has their own land and is helped to make it as self-sufficient as possible. Society structured in such a way is possible today because we now have the technology to achieve such a slave-freeing, planet-saving answer to the world's pollution problems, and more importantly, every human's individual needs. Now let's look at the corporation's way of saving the planet. Their whole reasoning for 15-minute cities and a CBDC society is based on the premise of saving the planet, and it appears the large corporations are prepared to lose profit in making themselves less polluting by hitting these Save the Planet ESG targets. As such, it appears profits are not their main priority anymore, indicated by the large corporations' deliberate destruction of their profits to reach ESG targets. On the face of it, what's not to admire about corporations and their ESG targets? So let's find out about the ESG and why the large corporations appear to care so much about the planet.
The history of ESG starts in 2004 with the late Kofi Annan, then the UN Secretary General. He was becoming increasingly concerned about the damage business owners were doing to the environment and to social structures. He wanted to find ways to integrate what we now refer to as sustainability into capital markets. The first outcome of that group was a groundbreaking study conducted by the Swiss government and the International Finance Corporation. And it was groundbreaking in its simple title, Who Cares Wins. Do pause and note that you need to really care to make it work. And when you do, you'll see the results it brings you. You'll see that who cares really does win. That groundbreaking study is where the ESG acronym was first coined.
So the ESG sprung into existence initially from the United Nations being concerned about businesses polluting the planet, then via Switzerland and the banks. Is it neat, or is there a pattern to all these planet-saving initiatives? Anyway, the outcome of ESG targets has the same effects as lockdown did, i.e., it puts small and medium-sized businesses out of business, as they did not have the finances to ride out the storm, so to speak. Now when the ESG storm hits the surviving small to medium-sized businesses, they will not have the finance to afford the fines and investment needed to meet the ESG targets. So the unforeseen, or possibly planned outcome of saving the planet via the corporation's method, would lead to the destruction of all small to medium-sized businesses, and people being forced to live in boxes and ghettos, with no possessions, and restricted movement. Now whether you believe this is what the NWO has planned for, or they have done it in a naive, well-intentioned manner, it is disastrous for the planet's population. So the PAEACP, having learned from the NWO, there is no leader, there is no official organization. As how can anyone truly free have a leader? The better life you help other people have, guarantees a better life for yourself. Everyone has a plot of land, and has helped to make that land self-sufficient. Just imagine everyone having their own land is to save the planet. If that thought helps you justify being fair and decent to other people, you also have the option of working, or not, in the infrastructure of the present system. Giving everyone the option of being able to walk away from exploitation, just like a billionaire does now. I know most of you are thinking this will never work, because everyone other than yourself will just sit on their arse and die. That may be the case, but at least it is their choice. How will it be transitioned is another question you are asking. To that question, I say the same way every alteration of society has been achieved, with willpower, but this time not NWO willpower. Most of you will still be thinking this could never work, but to counter that thought, the NWO think it will work, and is the best way of controlling slaves, which is why their version will have slaves living in chicken coops to save the planet, and slaves not owning anything to save the planet, and you will have no choice in your participating in the NWO's idea of restructuring society to save the planet, because your chicken coop will be hooked up to an all-electric system, and if you do not help save the planet, you will be switched off and kicked out onto the streets, where you will be unable to use the land because that would be destroying the planet and illegal. The choice is simple and urgent: the NWO's new Chinese-style debtors' prison system or freedom.